Hello everyone, this is Ray Savage with Cambium Networks. Thanks for joining us on this February morning. The presentation today is on optimizing your ePMP network and also a discussion of the new 5 GHz Force 200. The presentation is being recorded, so you don't have to worry about it. It will be sent to all registered attendees, and we will also be posting it to the Cambium community this afternoon. But if you do have any questions during the course of the presentation, please use the question and answer dialog box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll get to your questions during the course of the presentation. Well, our presenter today is John Butler, who is the Director of Product Management for ePMP. And John, it's great to see you again.
Thanks, Ray. Today we've got a lot of good information for you. I'm going to start out by giving an overview of the ePMP product in the event that we have people on the call who are new to ePMP. And then I'll talk about a new product that we just announced yesterday that is available now at our distribution partners that we're very excited about. And then because over the last several months we've made several significant updates to the portfolio, I'll do a review of the other new things we've added recently that make ePMP a great solution for your wireless needs. And then, as Ray mentioned, anytime you have a question, please post it in the webinar box, and Ray will interrupt me as we go along so that we can answer them in a timely manner. Okay, so let's talk about the ePMP solution first. ePMP is one of the newest products in the Cambium Network Solutions portfolio. We've been in the wireless outdoor broadband business for over 10 years and have delivered products that serve to be backhaul and backbone parts of your network based on point-to-point radios that we originally sold under the Orthogon brand. And then we had an industry-leading solution delivering access point-to-multipoint architecture that we originally sold under the Canopy brand. And those product lines live on and are continually refreshed and updated with the latest technology. A little over 2 years ago, we introduced the ePMP because there was a set of customers and a set of applications that really demanded reliable broadband service at an affordable price. And ePMP is the solution that we developed to go after and solve those problems. It's a low-cost solution, but it's not low quality. We designed it with all of the capabilities we learned over our 10 years in the broadband business so that it is today the most efficient, most reliable, and affordable wireless solution on the market. It's got a number of advantages when you look at it as a system. I mean, we designed ePMP not to be just a set of radios that you can use to connect links, but rather as a system that, or as a set of elements that work together as a system. And as a system, they have some advantages that no other solution in this cost category have. First one is that we have the capability to reuse frequencies across the network regardless of how dense it is, and that's enabled by a capability that's called GPS synchronization, which is in all of our products. The solution has very high scalability and consistent performance, and by scalability we mean you can build very large, dense networks. You can have access point configurations that support, in reality, up to 120 subscriber modules and still have very consistent performance. And while we designed ePMP to be a very high performance and highly scalable point-to-multipoint system, we also know that there's a lot of uses out there where you need a very cost-effective point-to-point link. And so we've designed some very high-performance point-to-point operating modes in the product. And we'll talk about those further in the presentation. There's a lot of people using unlicensed spectrum, and so there's oftentimes we are deployed in environments that have high interference, and so we have a set of algorithms and capabilities that we call eFortify, which help us maintain consistent performance even in the face of interference. And so on that solid base of capabilities where you have a very good system, we have also implemented advanced quality of service and multicast capabilities that allow service providers to deploy advanced services on top of our network in order to increase their revenue stream. And then finally, we have a set of tools that help you plan, provision, and monitor your system. And key among them is the very popular Link Planner tool, which last year was updated to allow you to do planning of point-to-multipoint and point-to-point networks using ePMP. And then also last year we introduced a new management tool that we call cnMaestro, which is really a nifty tool that helps you manage all aspects of your network. And as we enhance that solution, you'll be able to manage all of the products in the Cambium portfolio. Okay. So the ePMP is useful for many key applications. High density enterprise access in tough interference environments is where the ePMP excels. But because of its low cost point, it's also a very effective solution for coverage in rural areas. And some of the products we introduced help improve the range of the solution that help you get the most out of it when you're trying to cover large areas. We also see this product being used quite often to backhaul CCTV or video surveillance networks because we're really competing with the cost of wired connections. We need to be easy to deploy and very low cost, and so we're getting a lot of wins in this space. And then finally, when you want to deploy Wi-Fi, oftentimes it's difficult to get wired backhaul to it, and so a wireless solution is really nice. And so one of the things that we have is that Cambium has introduced a set of Wi-Fi access point products, and they work very well with ePMP and the other solutions in the Cambium portfolio. And they're all managed by this cnMaestro tool. So let's talk about the solution and what are the different parts of it. So we have a set of radios and antennas that are available in both the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz spectrum. Any of those radios can be configured to be an access point, a subscriber module, or a point-to-point radio, but some of them are optimized for certain functions. So we have a radio that is, we call the GPS synchronized AP, that has embedded in it a GPS timing device that gets the precise timing from the GPS system that allows it to run in synchronized mode. And we have two versions. We have the AP and the AP Lite. We'll talk a little bit more about the difference of those, but it's really different products at different price points that depending on what your needs are for your network. And we also sell a set of sector antennas that are specifically designed for the ePMP product. So they mechanically, the radios are mounted on them very nicely and efficiently, and they have the right characteristics needed to support frequency reuse when you're deploying point-to-multipoint systems. And then we have a set of what we call unsynchronized radios, which could be configured as access points if you're running an unsynchronized network, or they could be subscriber modules or point-to-point radios. So we have connectorized radios. We have radios that have integrated patch antennas. One of the more recent ones we've introduced is the Force 180. That's got an integrated patch antenna, 5 gigahertz. And then the products that we're talking about today, the Force 200, are new products to the portfolio that provide you with a very cost-effective and efficient solution for getting a high gain SM or a very low cost and high performance point-to-point network. And then so this hardware, though, the key to the performance of them is the software on them, and we run a high performance GPS synchronized MAC layer when running in point-to-multipoint mode, or a optimized point-to-point type of communication protocol, which we'll talk about, which is very efficient and has low latency for point-to-point networks.
John, we did have a question come in over the line while you were introducing the hardware. And this network operator is asking, what's the difference between the Force 110 and the Force 200? Now, I know you're going to dive into the Force 200, so.
Right. Well, the Force 200 is an updated, it's a new generation of the Force 110. Both those products were designed to have a very high gain, and we employ a dish antenna to do that, to give us 25 dBi of gain. And the Force 200 is an updated version. We'll talk later about what the advantages are.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right, so here we are, the Force 200, 5 gigahertz. So what this product is, as I mentioned, is the next generation of a very popular product in the ePMP line, which we call the Force 110. So this is a high-gain radio that can be used as either an SM or a point-to-point solution. And the antenna's got a 25 dBi of gain, so you can get some very good distances out of it. Some of the advantages that we have with the Force 200 over the Force 110 is that we've added a gigabit Ethernet port built into the radio. The Force 110 had a fast Ethernet port, and so if you used those radios in a point-to-point configuration with a 40 megahertz channel, the Ethernet port was the limiting factor in terms of the throughput you could get from that radio. But with the gigabit port added to the Force 200, now you're able to get the full bandwidth of that product, which is around 200 megabits per second in a 40 megahertz channel. The other enhancement we made is that the Ethernet port now supports both Cambium and standard PoE pinouts. Now, those of you who are familiar with Cambium products know that when we actually first designed the Canopy product, there was no PoE standard, and so we selected a set of pinouts that turned out to be not standard. But we've carried them through our product line all along because we wanted to maintain compatibility with previous products in the portfolio. But what we're seeing with the ePMP is that many people are upgrading their networks from other solutions that utilize standard PoE pinouts. So for example, if you're a WISP, a service provider, and let's say you want to upgrade the radio on a subscriber's house from another vendor to ePMP, the fact that we now support standard pinouts means you don't have to schedule a call and go inside the residence or the business and swap out their PoE injector. Instead, you can just swap out the radio on the exterior of the house, and it makes transitions much easier. And the other things we've added to this product are that we've made it much easier to assemble and install, and we'll have a video coming up that shows you that.
John, we did have one question. You talk about the PoE being standard. Is that also at the gigabit port? Can we do a gigabit with a standard PoE?
Yes, you can. Let me just emphasize that it's standard pinouts. It's not the 802.3 AF or AT standard voltages. But it's a low voltage 25 to 30 volt powering scheme.
Okay, and we did have a question from another network operator. Is the Force 200 compatible with a connectorized radio? And I think that's where we'll talk a little bit about what's very different about the Force 200.
Yeah, so the radio is actually, if you're looking at the screen on the left, the radio is housed inside the feed horn. So it's not a connectorized design. This radio, however, will interoperate with any other radio in the ePMP portfolio, and it runs the full set of different operating modes and channel widths and all that. It runs the exact same software that runs on all the other radios.
Okay, and just one last question about PoE before we get into installation.
Yeah.
Network operator just wants to confirm it's passive PoE.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, great. Just get that out to everybody here.
All right. So we've made the assembly as simple as possible while still maintaining the structural integrity of the product. It's a very simple 5-step process, and we're actually going to switch now to a video, which is also available on our website, that shows you just how easy it is to install it.
All right, give me a second here. Just making sure it's coming up on the screen.
introducing Cambium Network's Force 200 series of wireless broadband solutions. This video demonstrates the installation of Force 200 equipment for optimal network deployment. Verify all parts and tools. Insert the center feed tube through the dish. Attach the rear mounting bracket to the dish and listen for 2 snaps. Install 4 M6 flange screws. Now install the safety screw for the center feed tube. Attach the pole mount bracket to the rear adjustment bracket using 2 M8 flange screws. Insert 2 M8 by 90 bolts through the pole mounting bracket and secure them with 2 M8 serrated hex nuts. Install the retaining strap to the pole mount bracket. Power on your Force 200 equipment to begin alignment. Tilt adjustments may be made by loosening the adjustment bracket. Navigate to Configuration, Radio. Configure the operating frequency and channel bandwidth utilized by your network. Then click Save. Using the E-Align feature, find the best signal for your Force 200 and secure the installation.
So that video is available on the Cambium website, and there's also a link to it from the knowledge base on our forum. So one of the benefits of the Force 200 is that the antenna beam width is pretty narrow, and that can help you mitigate interference in a lot of environments. And so that's one of the reasons this type of a device is popular. But one of the downsides of that narrow antenna beam is that you need some pretty good alignment in order to make sure that you've got optimal performance on your link. That's why a number of releases ago we implemented this tool that we call E-Align, which we saw a demo of there. It's a really it's a cool tool that allows you to very easily line up your radio so that you get the best performance. Okay? So let's talk about how the Force 200 can be used as a point-to-point link. It certainly can be used as a subscriber module, but it's got some great advantages as a point-to-point link. Now, what makes a good high-performance point-to-point radio? It's really kind of 2 things. One is link budget. And what link budget is a term that's used to measure basically the conductive power and the antenna gain, which really determines how far you can have links go and what kind of performance you can gain, you can get. Now the Force 200 radio supports up to 30 dBm of conducted power, which is the best you're going to find anywhere in the industry in this price class. Of course, how much power you can use is really subject to regulatory restrictions. And then we have a dish antenna that supports a real gain of 25 dB. When you look at other products in this category, oftentimes they really don't operate up to their rated specs, but all of the ePMP products do. And so when you compare the Force 200 with other products like this, what you're going to find in practice is that there's an additional 6 dB of link budget in this product as compared to others. And what that means in practice is that at the same throughput, an ePMP Force 200 link is going to be able to operate at twice the range. Or at the same distance, we'll have throughput that's 50% or more throughput than the radio set of radios that have a smaller link budget. One of the things that folks in the U.S. are going to like about this radio is that we've been able to improve the transmit power that you're able to get on the FCC version of the radios. We're up about 6 dB in conducted transmit power in the 5.8 and the 5.4 bands as compared to the Force 110. So right away you're going to see that this product gives you better range and better performance than the Force 110, which is already doing quite well. The other thing that makes a high-performance radio is the protocol that's used to transfer the data. Now, a lot of products that are based on a Wi-Fi chipset like the ePMP is basically operate in the standard Wi-Fi mode when operating in a point-to-point configuration. There's a mode of operation called CCA, or Clear Channel Assessment, that's utilized in Wi-Fi, where the radio does listen before talk. So if it sees interference, then it'll back off and won't transmit data. And this can affect throughput of a radio in a point-to-point mode. Now, what we've done in ePMP is that we've modified that mechanism such that we can get very low latency access, but we aren't impacted by external interference as other Wi-Fi radios. We also coordinate between the master and the slave on the point-to-point link such that there aren't collisions between the master and the slave, which can happen when you're using standard Wi-Fi. So we coordinate things between the different ends of the link, and the result is a much higher throughput. And then on top of that, we have over quite a bit of experimentation and field test optimized what's called our rate adapt algorithms, so that we're choosing the right modulations to use for the environment that we're operating in. Choosing the wrong rate algorithm will either result in excessive retransmissions, which can impact performance, or operating below the optimal throughput that could be achieved in certain environments. So both those things together make for a very high performance point-to-point radio, and you'll be very pleased with the performance you get from the Force 200. So that's the Force 200, and what I'm going to do here for the next couple of minutes is just review some of the products and capabilities we've added to the ePMP line over the last couple of months. And as you can see, we've really refreshed the portfolio so that it's very efficient and very high performance. So last fall we introduced at 5 gigahertz the Force 180 product, which is an updated version of our integrated patch antenna radio. It's got a 16 dBi gain antenna, which was an increase of 3 dB of gain, which gets you an additional 40% range. This product, like the Force 200, has a gigabit Ethernet port, and everything I said about the Force 200's gigabit Ethernet port with its support of both standard and Cambium pinouts is true on this radio as well. And then we modified the industrial design of this radio and have an adjustable mounting bracket that's included with the radio that makes it easy to install and align. And then finally, we had a sort of a kind of a simple change we made to the product, which actually proves to make it work better in high interference environments. And that is, we oriented the patch antenna in a horizontal manner, and what that does is it ends up narrowing the azimuth, or the horizontal beam width. And since a lot of the interference you're getting in these networks is from side to side, it helps mitigate interference. And we're getting, a lot of people are pleased with the performance of the Force 180. Next slide, Ray. And then this looks familiar. We had introduced a 2.4 gigahertz Force 200 version of the product also last fall. And this was brand new to the portfolio. Until then, we did not have a dish-based solution at 2.4. Because of the physics and the lower frequency, the same dish size that we have at 5 gigahertz gives you an 18 dBi gain, but at 2.4 gigahertz, that works out to be quite some distance and range that you're able to get. And many things about this product are similar to the Force 200. The gigabit Ethernet I talked about, the installation and assembly is exactly the same. And I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but both products, the Force 200 products, support an optional radome, and it's the same radome that works across both products. So if you're deploying these in areas with ice and snow, the radome is a good addition.
John, we did have a question that's coming up multiple times online about the Force 200, and it's asking whether the Force 200 has an integrated GPS receiver. And I know that GPS is at the access point, and Force 200 is deployed as a subscriber module. But could you go through the details of that, please?
Sure. It does not have an integrated GPS receiver. That doesn't mean that it can't operate in a GPS synchronized network. It can't be the master in the network. It can't be the access point. And instead, it would be the subscriber module. But really, the product is given the antenna configuration there, it's really not designed to be an access point. It's designed to be a subscriber module or a client in a GPS synchronized network. We do have a product which is designed for point-to-point links, which can be GPS synchronized, and that product is called the Force 110 PTP, and we're continuing to make that product available.
Okay, great. We have more questions. We'll get to those, but I know you have more stuff to cover.
Sure. I touched on this earlier, but last fall we also introduced the AP Lite. So this is a GPS synchronized access point that's limited to support 10 subscriber modules, but it's available for sale for less than half the price of a full GPS AP. This is a nice way to get started with your network at a lower cost, and it's perfect for lower density deployments. If you're not going to have more than 10 subscriber modules under an access point, then this is really all you need. But if you deploy with an AP Lite and then you want to add and grow your network, add more subscriber modules, we sell a license key that will upgrade the AP to full support of 120 SMs. And that can be remotely applied. You just purchase the license key from your channel partner, your reseller, and remotely program it into the radio, and then you've opened up the radio. So it's a nice way to get started at a lower cost point on the ePMP.
Okay, and we did have a question here.
Sure.
When will the ePMP AP Lite be available in 2.4 gigahertz?
We're not at this point planning to introduce it any time in the near future. It's something we're considering, but we haven't decided to do it yet.
Okay.
You know, we're constantly looking for new ideas, and this is certainly one that is under discussion.
Thank you.
So that was the recent hardware introductions. Let's talk about some of the key capabilities we've introduced in software over the last few months. So back in early fall, we introduced release 2.5. And the key capabilities that it introduced was it introduced the option for a 2.5 millisecond frame in TDD mode. And this allows you to do two things. One is it allows you to operate in GPS sync mode with even lower latency than we support normally with our 5 millisecond frame. And you're able to do co-location with the PMP 100, which means that the ePMP radios can now synchronize with the PMP 100. So if you're migrating from PMP 100 to ePMP, this gives you some better options for overlaying your network and using less spectrum to do that. We also introduced the capability to support standard Wi-Fi mode at the as an access point. And we have there's other software that runs on the ePMP radios, which is part of our CN pilot portfolio, which provides some very good featured access point, Wi-Fi access point capability. But what this is a mode within the ePMP software line that supports basic Wi-Fi. And the purpose of this is to really to support migration from other Wi-Fi based solutions to the ePMP. We also introduced the universal plug and play support on the ePMP, and then added the support of DFS bands in our ePTP mode. ePTP mode is the optimized point-to-point mode that I talked about earlier, which allows you to get very low latency, high performance point-to-point operations. And so early last fall, we updated the support of the ePTP mode to support all of the frequency bands. Then at the end of last year, we introduced release 2.6, and this had quite a few features in it which are very useful. We enhanced the support of Radius in the solution. We now support the authentication of administrative users via Radius, and we'll support the configuration of VLAN settings on your client devices' subscriber modules with Radius. This support software also supports the AP Lite license key that I just referred to. And then we enhanced the enhanced point-to-point mode of operation by adding support for 5 and 10 megahertz channels, as well as adding 10 megahertz channel support for the AP mode of operation. Then we introduced a set of networking features that many people were looking for that include link layer discovery protocol, separate management, IP address port forwarding, wireless MAC address filtering for network entry, and then display at the AP of distance to each SM. And finally, we've improved our algorithms in the rate adapt area to make them even more tolerant of interference for on-channel interferers. And so this is something that you'll see as we update the software. We always try to work in some enhancement that makes the solution even more robust and reliable. Okay, so a lot of things new on the ePMP. If you haven't tried any of these new software releases or any of these new products, we encourage you to do so. We think you'll be very pleased. So really, in summary, ePMP is a great portfolio that's available at a very affordable price that solves some real-world problems. If you're deploying in an area where spectrum is precious and you need high throughput and capacity, and you want to be able to offer additional applications or increase your revenue stream, then ePMP is the solution for you. So new product here with the Force 200, and as all of these products do, they increase the link budget and the performance of ePMP. And so in order to get you to try ePMP and to have a little fun while we're doing it, we have a little challenge for our users here to go out and buy the 5 gigahertz Force 200 and be one of the first 10 people to install the product, and then post pictures of your installation. Videos are always nice, performance results, and any commentary you may have on it. You post it on any broadband wireless forum, DSL reports, WISPA, AppMug, there's a Russian forum, or the Cambium community. Post it anywhere on there. Send a link of your posting to Ray Savage, and if you're one of the first 10, we'll send you a free 5 gigahertz Force 200. Of course, when you email Ray, send us your mailing address as well, so we can get that product off to you. So, little challenge for you, and we'd love to see what you guys are doing with the ePMP and the Force 200.
And I guess, John, embedded in that is the Force 200, the 5 gigahertz Force 200. Is that available for ordering today?
It is. We shipped the first versions of those at the end of the year, and they've by now made their way to our channel partners. So contact your channel partner. They should be well stocked with the product right now.
Great. Then I'll just watch my email box.
Okay.
Okay, for more information, to find out details on other new products that we have, we invite you to follow us on social media. You can do that on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, and Weibo. and you'll have information sent directly to you. But as John mentioned, there's also the community forum, which is at community.cambiumnetworks.com. It's completely free to join, to read and post, and there you'll find discussion forums on our products, network planning, areas in different languages, a place to discuss business issues. There's also a knowledge base of information that's been vetted by our support team. And if there's something that you think we ought to do, and I know Force 200 is one of those products where it's based on customer input, there's an ideas section there where you can post your ideas or vote on ideas that other people have posted, and those do get reviewed periodically, and we do build that into our development plan. In addition, there's also a Your Stories area where network operators can share stories, photos, videos from around the world, and you can talk directly with people who've already deployed it. Well, John, we've got a lot of questions in the queue.
Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go.
All right.
On the Force 200, you were talking about standard PoE and the Canopy PoE. Is there any special part number that you need to have to order your Force 200 with standard PoE?
Well, if the product comes, the same product supports both pinouts. Don't ask me how they do it, but if there's in the electronic circuitry, it can handle the standard voltage pin assignments and as well as the Cambium one. So every part comes with that capability. Okay.
And then earlier on in the webinar, we mentioned that one ePMP access point can support 120 subscriber modules. And where can somebody monitor that load that the subscribers are putting on the AP? Is that in Maestro?
You could do it in Maestro. That's certainly one way to do it. But there's also within the GUI, the graphical user interface of the AP, there are various statistics pages under the monitor section where you can look at throughput per subscriber module, a number of packets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've got plenty of ways for you to monitor the way your network is performing.
Okay, let's talk about dBs and gain on the antenna. Is the 30 dBm conducted power available at MCS 15, or is that only at your very lowest modulations?
It's at the lowest modulation. The way this works, and almost all radios work this way, is that when you're at the highest modulation, you need to step down the transmit power a bit in order to get the right, basically the right linearity in the RF section. So the way the radios operate is that at MCS 15 we support 23 dBm, and then we step down a couple of modulation modes and you're up to 30 dBm. So if you're interested in the detail, there's a tool on the Cambium website. It's called the ePMP Capacity Planner, and it's basically a spreadsheet that tells you what transmit power you'll get at each modulation.
Great, great. And here's somebody who has a Force 110 deployed and they're satisfied with it. But the question is, how does the real 25 dBi gain compare to the Force 110? And would there be any antenna-based reason to swap out my existing SM from a Force 110 to a Force 200?
Well, if you're happy with the Force 110 performance and you don't need the gigabit Ethernet port, then there's really no reason to swap it out for the 200.
So they can coexist in one sector?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, question here about the Force 180. Can the Force 180 be used in a PTP, point-to-point configuration?
Sure, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, any of the radios can perform any function. So it can be a point-to-point radio or an access point or SM.
Okay, and you did mention that the Force 180 is horizontally configured.
Mm-hmm.
What if a network operator asks, what if I want to use it in vertical configuration?
Well, you could, but I would be concerned about water ingress to the Ethernet connection. The way the radio is designed is the Ethernet connection is at the bottom of the radio, so it's protected. It's underneath the radio, and it's protected from water ingress in that manner. If you rotated at 90 degrees, you'd most likely get some water in the Ethernet port, which would seep into the radio, and you'd have a failure. So we don't recommend that.
Okay. In the presentation, you talked about software release 2.6. We have one network operator who is asking, is there any plans for a 2.6.1, or is that in beta right now?
Well, it's in beta right now, and what that software release does is it's basically a bug fix release. We've got the set of issues that it addresses on the beta site. So the way we run the software beta programs here is that you can download the beta software and run it on your network if you so choose. You need to be aware that it's still basically a product in development, so there may be some issues. But that release should be going commercial here within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and what in an EPTP environment, what channel widths are possible?
So we support both 5, 10, 20, and 40 megahertz channel widths. Then if you're operating in the U.S. in a DFS band, we don't support a 5 megahertz channel bandwidth. But outside of that, all those channel widths are available.
Great. Let's see. And the one question is asking about radio-aware networking features. Have we done any work with radio-aware to integrate any of those capabilities into our products?
I'm not too familiar with that terminology. So let's take that one, do a little research, and get back to the questioner offline.
Great. Let's see. Does EPTP, those links, does that support QoS capabilities?
Yes, it does. It's supported over both overall operating modes.
Oh, great. And let's see. You mentioned channel widths, the 10 megahertz channel operation. Are those fully compatible with all legacy equipment?
Legacy meaning ePMP. The answer is yes. You know, when we come out with software updates, they run on all the ePMP radios, even ones you might have bought 2 years ago.
That's great. And can you comment a little on pricing on the Force 200, and how does that compare to the Force 100 pricing?
It's the same price. So in the U.S., the MSRP is $129. You know, in international markets, there may be some difference due to currency and import duties and things like that. But it's the same price as the Force 110.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let me just caveat that a bit. The 2.4 gigahertz version of the Force 200 is $139.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Can you comment a little bit more on frequency reuse and AB configuration? I know that's a long discussion, and we do have webinars on that, but just very
Sure. Yeah, just very quickly. So that's one of the key advantages to the ePMP. Because of GPS synchronization, you can deploy what's called a sectorized access point configuration, where you use 4 radios with 90-degree antennas pointing in 4 different directions, like say north, south, east, and west. and you're able to reuse frequencies within that site. So the A and the B refer to two different channels, and you can alternate them as you go around the site, AB, AB. So, and as you said, Ray, we have webinars that talk about technically how that works, and you know, how you can employ that to get very dense, high-capacity networks.
Great. And we do have a number of folks asking about CN Maestro and when that will be available. And I know we will have Emilio in here to talk about the latest in CN Maestro very soon. If you're looking for a CN Maestro license, you can contact or just send an email to support@cambiumnetworks.com, and we'll set that up for you. And we will have a future webinar talking about CN Maestro and its capabilities. Right now, Maestro does work with the Wi-Fi products and some ePMP situations, but we will continue to roll capability out as we go forward. Okay. Wow, there are a lot of questions on CN Maestro. So I encourage everybody to take a look at that. Okay. Here's one question on PoE output power. When would we ever increase the PoE output power from 30 volts to 48 volts?
I think maybe the questioner is asking about the input power. So
okay.
The GPS synchronized access point does support the higher powered PoE. So it's 802.3 AF compliant, which means nominally that's a 48 volt supply. That radio happens to be designed so that you could use also 30 volt PoE on it as well. So it tends to, we support that on our radios designed to be access points. That is in most cases where we find the need for people to use the standard higher voltage PoE.
Great. Let's see. And one question, we always get this, will we be able to send the presentation out over email? Anybody that's registered for the conference, actually you'll be receiving an email with a link to the recording of the presentation. It will also be posted on the community, and I ask you to go ahead and use the community where you can continue the discussions with the questions and answers at that location. So we look forward to seeing you on the community and in future webinars. John, thank you very much, and everybody, I'd encourage you to go ahead and get your 5 gigahertz Force 200s going and post those to social media around the world. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.